Hi guys, welcome back to another video tutorial. So in this tutorial, what we'll be going through is part 2 of the inequalities series, if you like, the quadratic inequalities series. Now, if you haven't watched part 1, I would highly recommend to go and watch part 1 first before doing looking at this video tutorial, because if you don't understand what's happening in part 1, I'm not going to explain as thoroughly as I did in part 1, because this is just based on part 1. So I will put the link on the top right hand corner of your screen for part 1 of inequalities, so definitely go and watch that if you haven't, and then watch this. And if you have watched part 1, then sit down, relax, and I guess put up with my voice, should I say. Okay, anyway, so let's get straight to the question. The question here that we have is find the set of values of x for which x squared plus 5x minus 14 is smaller than 0. Now, if you saw part 1 of the inequality series, can you tell me what the difference is? Well, actually, why am I asking this? I guess it's actually in the thumbnail, isn't it? Okay, the difference is in part 1 we had a sign that was greater, and in this one, in this video tutorial, it's smaller. Okay, so you need to know it both ways, because in the exam they can give you the greater and smaller, so you need to know how to do them. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to write x squared plus 5x minus 14, and again we're going to get rid of this the smaller sign, so we're just going to put that equals to 0, and I'm going to factorize this. Okay, now again, if you're not sure with how to do factorizing, go and watch the factorizing video tutorial. I'll put that as well, another link for you guys to go and check it out. So what I want is two numbers when I multiply gives me minus 14, and two numbers when I add gives me 5. Okay, so two numbers when I multiply gives me minus 14, and two numbers when I add gives me 5. I know that's going to be 7 and minus 2. So 7 and minus 2. Why? Because 7 minus 2 gives me 5, and 7 times minus 2 gives me minus 14. Now all I do here to factorize is get my two brackets and put that equals to 0. So you have x, and then the two numbers that you found, minus 7 and plus 2, you just put them, no, so it's the other way around, isn't it? It's 7 and plus 2, so plus 7 and minus 2. Okay, so one solution is x plus 7 is equals to 0, so x is equals to minus 7, and then the other solution is x minus 2 is equals to 0, so x is equals to 2. Okay, so again, if you're not quite sure how I'm doing this, definitely go and check out the factorizing tutorial. Now what I'm going to do is draw the graph, right? So remember an x squared graph, how an x squared graph looks like. So again, apologies for my very bad diagram, because I'm just doing a sketch here. So this is x coordinate, and this is your y coordinate. Now you have two values here, minus 7 and 2, right? So I'm going to put minus 7 somewhere here. Doesn't have to be precise in terms of scale, because this is just a sketch, and this is 2, right? So my graph is going to be, okay, that's it, that's good. Yeah, so remember this is an x squared graph, so your x squared graph is going to be a smiley face, and it intersects at minus 7 and 2. Now what you need to look at here is, okay, let's use the green here. The sign here means smaller than 0. So we know that 0, by the way, is here. Smaller than 0 basically means I'm going to shade the part of the graph that is everything below 0. And everything below 0 means it's here, right? If it was greater than 0 from the previous video tutorial, you shade it up. And yes, I know in that tutorial explanation I forgot to shade it up, but if you look at the questions at the end, I do explain that and I do go back to it. So yes, and in this one, so because it's smaller than 0, I shade it at the bottom. Okay, now what I'm going to do is to get my answer. Now you got to be careful here, right? So let me show you the quick way of doing this, and I'll explain, and then I'll show you the explanation behind it. Okay, if you don't want to hear the explanation, this is the quick method here. So you, as in the answer, to how to get the answer from this graph, and basically your answer is going to be, I'm going to write x here. Now my inequality sign, because this is below 0, I'm shading below 0, it's going to be in one line. Everything is going to be in one line, which means that my sign is always going to be this way. right? So it can never be this way or that way or this way or that way. You can never have the signs like that when you're doing this kind of inequality when it's shaded below. It's always this way, okay? And basically, what do you see on your left, which is -7? That's going to be on the left hand side here. What do you see on the right on this graph is 2. And this is the answer. Okay, like the shortcut, if you like, without the explanation. Now, if I were to explain this, why we write it this way, you can hear this out. If not, this is the answer, and you can go and skip and go to the questions. Now, basically, the explanation behind this is if I look at this -7, right? Let me look at this line. Because it's going below 0, I'm going to go this way. Look at the cursor as well as I'm going, as I'm explaining this. My line, my -7, this line is going to go this way, right? What is happening to my x value as this line is going this way? Your x value is this coordinate. What's happening to my x value? If you see, your x value is increasing, isn't it? Because -7, -6, -5, etc., etc. So that's increasing. So I know that as my line goes this way, my x value is increasing. Hence, x is greater than -7. Now, if I look at this 2 here, as this line is going this way, and you might be asking, so why are you not going this way? Why are you going this way? It's because, look, I've shaded at the bottom is smaller than 0, which means I have to go down. If it was shaded at the top, I'm going up. So because it's shaded down, as this line is going this way, my x value is decreasing, right? Because look, 2 now decreases, it's going this way. So x is smaller than 2. And the reason why this is in one line is because if you look at this, this line is going this way and this line is going this way. They're merging together, which means they all come into one line. If you look at the previous video tutorial, this one, as this line is going this way and this line is going that way, they're diverging, right? They're not meeting, so they're in separate lines. So that's how I say to my students, I guess, is what I say is when it's shaded below, it's in one line, and when it's shaded above, your answer is in separate lines. And that's pretty much the explanation. And this is pretty much how you solve this inequality. Okay, so if there's any questions here that you didn't, well, if you have any questions or any doubts in terms of the explanation, put it down in the comments and I will reply back to you guys. Okay, so now what I'll do is get some questions for you guys to try out. Right, so here's some questions for you guys to try and do. So again, what I would say is pause the video, try the questions. Once you finished it, play the video back and then see if you got the answers right or wrong. Okay, so let's do the first question. So in this one, what I'm going to do is straight away get rid of the sign because I don't need that right now. So x squared minus 10x plus 21 is smaller than, oh no, I just contradicted myself, that equals to 0. And what I'm going to do is factorize this. So I want two numbers when I multiply gives me 21, and two numbers when I add gives me minus 10. Okay, and your two numbers that multiply gives you 21 is 7 and 3, but you need minus 10. So what I'm going to have is both minus 7 and minus 3, because minus 7 plus minus 3 gives me minus 10, and minus 7 times minus 3 gives me positive 21. Right, now what I'm going to do is put this into brackets and then start we've already started factorizing, so now put the x, and then minus 7 and then minus 3. Now one of your solutions is x minus 7 equals 0, so x is equals to plus 7, and then the other one is x minus 3 equals 0, so x is equals to 3. Now if we were to draw the graph, is it 7 and 3? Yeah, minus 7, yeah. So now if we were to draw the graph again, so this is our little y-axis and this is our x-axis, and if I to use, okay, let's use orange here. So if we to use 3 and 7, so we know that 3 is going to be somewhere here, and we know that 7 is going to be somewhere here. Now if we were to draw the graph that goes through the 2 points, that's my x squared graph for this one, right? Now where do I shade? Because the sign is smaller than 0, I shade on the bottom. So my answer for this one, remember, it's going to be one line because it's smaller than 0, so you know that straight away it's going to be like this. Okay, so as in your sign, and what's on the left hand side is 3, so you put 3, and what's on the right hand side is 7, so you put 7. Okay, now if you want to know the explanation again, it's the same one as I did in the tutorial there, but that's pretty much the quick way of getting the answer to that, and that's it, pretty much. Okay, so if you got that, well done. If you haven't, check where you went wrong. Now if we go to the second one, we're going to do the same thing. So x squared minus x minus 72 is equals to 0. Now what we're going to do is going to factorize this. So two numbers when we multiply gives me minus 72, and two numbers when I add gives me minus 1. Be careful, that means 1. If there's nothing, that means, well, x just means 1. So your two numbers is going to be minus 9 and 8, because minus 9 times 8 gives me minus 72, and minus 9 plus 1 gives me minus 1. Now all we do, once we got the numbers, is get them into two brackets. So 2 brackets equals 0. So x minus 9 and x plus 8. So one of my solutions is x minus 9 is equals to 0. So x is equals to 9. And the other one is x plus 8 is equals to 0. So x is equals to minus 8. I mean, to be, you know, because this is pretty much all factorizing. So even on the previous video tutorial and this video tutorial, you should, I guess, be more confident now in how to factorize, because it's literally just factorizing. So hopefully, you know, you've got a lot of practice there on how to factorize, right, when doing these questions. Now what we're going to do is draw the graph again. So if I were to draw the graph, so again, this is my y-axis and this is my x-axis. Now we have 9 and minus 8. So okay, let's just put minus 8 here, and let's put 9 here. I know my graph is it should be straight, but I'm just sketching here. So that basically means we want, again, a smiley face. So smiley face that goes through the 2 points like that. And we need to look at where do we shade up or down. Now because this is smaller than or equals to 0, so don't worry about the equals yet, but it's smaller than 0, so I know I'm going to shade it down. Now my answer, because it's smaller, I know it's going to be in one line, so I'm going to put the sign this way. However, this is where you got to be careful, is because there's an equal sign there. I just add the equal sign. That's it. Okay, and then again, what's on your left is minus 8, so this is going to be minus 8, and what's on your right is going to be 9, so it's 9. And that's your answer. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first tutorial, but what you can see with inequality, there is a pattern, right? If it's smaller than 0, what the answer looks like. If it's greater than 0, what the answer looks like. And once you get the pattern, that's it. You've got it. It clicks. That's all it is in inequality, right? I mean, I guess I would just say in maths as well. In general, it's all about patterns. And if you understand and you actually can catch the pattern, well, it's pretty straightforward from there on in. Okay, so if you got these answers, well done. If you haven't, just make sure you check it, check where you went wrong. And if again you can't find where you went wrong, put it down in the comments and I will help you out. Okay, so that's a wrap for this video. And if this video has helped you, please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And what I'll do in the next video tutorial as well is give you more variety of other inequalities that could come up in the exam as well. And those should be more interesting as well. But before going into those, make sure you master these. Okay, so I shall see you on the next one.